rhythmic tones, frequencies hitting pyramid domes that lift up only through sound. And that's the shit that I'm on.
Yeah.
Cryptic and shit in my prose, as I'm digmatizing the pro. A snake charmer, I'm told. But mine is ears, pressing earrings, hobo, iron suit clothes. Think it's a parent who's the parent, and I shine in my role. It's hotty-dotty, lotty-dotty, I'm a party on my own. Papa hottie, and she acting naughty, she's up in the zone. I'm on some shotties, and I'm talking potty, trying to get it on. If this was 1973, I would have put you on the stroll. In 1993, I would have you on the pole, but we evolved. I like women with degrees and some goals. Getting Z's at a decent hour when she make it home. No disease, keep that pussy clean, take care of them toes. She getting money, so all that shit she can do it on her own. Hit the gym, taking medicine, do your yoga poses. Here's a way that you can eat to feel full and fit them clothes. Formulate so we can pray and search the scriptures to behold. I'm a fiction and your life is hard to replace when I'm gone. So watch your words before you end up sitting waiting at the phone. Yeah, I'm patient, but the way I am, I'm living by a code. Let them know that dick ain't free, it costs a fee to get involved. Y'all need something to hold. What's the story you can pose? I'ma flip it. Don't you sell that pussy, let's go open up a business. Think I'm kidding, most of them make the degrees in which I'm bold. But bitch, gotta be patient, be honest, do what you told. I see the innocence within the darkness in your soul. And with privilege, present you with the way that you can mold. To our benefit, cause best believe not only for your own. I ain't limited by their doctrines on the ways that things should go. I would rather just be honest with the way that I propose. When I touch your soul, everything I say is gold. Can't wipe if she ain't solid if you got somewhere to go. Can't be rocking with a mold. Gotta know it's your role. Does she surrender and follow you even if she doesn't know? Is she swallowing the seed that you are dropping in the dome? Are you watering and anchoring that shit with every O? Class conditions and thinking of ways to make this shit grows without contradicting the principles and ways that you've shown. Does she understand the program and her role? Does she eagerly anticipate the feeling of the pole? Does she turn into a little girl around you like she's home? I got some game for you to take it to the hole. Coach Brody is the name. You gotta pay me for some more.
Ooh. Okay, Brody.
You have to win the game to change the rules. This is one of the most important things that you'll learn in this game, right? Dealing with women. You have to win the game to change the rules. And this is for each level up that you're moving in within the sexual polarity quadrant, right? If you're leading with tricking, you need to follow through with the tricking, right? Then give her some dick in a quality of time that you're spending with her that is so good that she don't want to charge you anymore. Now you're entering into the masculine submissive exercise and self-control, right? If you're leading with the masculine submissive exercise and self-control, which means that rather than being direct about your sexual intentions and walking away unless the woman is being immediately receptive to you, outside of just knowing how to circumvent that psychological reactance, or knowing how to show that you can move around the little test that she may give you in that first conversation, right? And then walking away if she's not receptive. If that's not exactly what it is, then you're in the masculine submissive exercise and self-control. You have to win the game to change the rules, right? And what does that mean? Understand that anytime you're not leading off from the get-go with your program, anytime you're not leading off from the get-go with saying what you want her to do, how you want things to do, leading off with instructions, and then just dealing with the woman based off of her receptiveness to you, you're moving from the masculine submissive exercise and self-control. There's nothing wrong with that, but understand that once you try to move into being direct after you start with being indirect and she wasn't receptive to you being indirect, you showing your hand. Now she loses respect for you and sees your attempt to be direct now as you felt as if you were being ineffective in being indirect. So now you're attempting to be direct. On a small level, to a woman that shows that you aren't sure about who you are or what you want, and that if she's not receptive to you in the way that you desire her to be, that you're going to up your level of aggression. And this to her shows a level of desire and interest that causes her to feel as if you lack dominant empathy, right? As in, you aren't able to assess her attraction and her desire level. Now, there's a difference, and this is where dominant empathy comes in. This is a muscle that you have to strengthen. You have to keep your sword sharp. Your sword has to be sharp and stay sharp, right? So that means that if you want to strengthen your sword on a masculine dominant level, that means you have to approach enough women to then deal with women who are receptive to you being direct. You can't fixate on trying to win the women who weren't receptive to you initially. Some of those women are going to come back around. Some of them are not. But if you then drop down into being indirect after being direct, she loses respect for you. Understand this. Watch my video on what it means to be consistent. The way you start has got to be how you finish. But finish just means that you're changing the rules of the game. How you start is how you finish, right? So if you drop down, let's say we're thinking about things in regards to Brody scale of sexual attraction, right? Each level of approach that you take has some semblance of setting your own standards, setting the tone of what level of sexual attraction you expect from women. Understand this. There's an active and there's a passive form for each one, for the most part, from 5 to 10. When you're being direct with a woman, and understand that unless you're being direct about your sexual intentions, you're not truly being direct. Shout out to Alan Roger Curry, right? Understand that. But there's a difference between the biology first approach and mode 1. Because when you're doing mode 1, you have to be not only direct about your sexual intentions, but what type of relationship you're looking to have with a woman. So if you're just direct about the fact that you want to sleep with her, but you're not telling her whether you want this to be long-term or short-term, or whether you want this to be exclusive or non-exclusive, or whether this to be emotionally profound or not emotionally profound, if you're not being direct about the context of this sexual relationship, that's not truly mode 1. I believe in the biology first approach, which means you give the woman the opportunity to show how receptive she is, and then you move forward from there. But I still do believe in being direct about your sexual intentions, but it depends on what you want and how you're trying to move, right? So when you're doing the masculine submissive exercise and self-control, this is a 7 to 9 level approach. 7 to 9. It's the 9-7 dichotomy. I got videos on the 9-7 dichotomy, making love versus fucking, right? I also have a video of the pacifier principle, right? Dominant versus submissive head. These are videos about the 9-7 dichotomy, which is where you can either be indirect and play that game and make a woman comfortable, which is a 7-level approach, or the 9-level approach, which is where you allow the woman's attraction to you to get to the point where your innuendo is enough to push her over the edge, right? Where she wants to then come towards you. There's an active and a passive 9-level approach. So the 9-level approach that's active could be like telling a woman to send you nudes, right? Or feet pics or some shit like that, or telling her to come through just to suck dick, right? That's a 9-level approach, because you're expecting her to do above just a reciprocal 1-for-1 transaction of sex. The 8-level approach is that reciprocal 1-for-1 transaction of sex, right? So you have to win the game to change the rules. And this relates to more than just that. This also relates to, if you're masculine dominant, you have to win the game to change the rules. As in, if you're being direct with a woman, right, and you're giving her instructions, you can't then, when she's not receptive, take a step back and try to communicate with the woman. She may be receptive to this from time to time, but she's really saying, okay, you're giving me your power, and then I'm going to decide if the validation that I'm gaining from you is important enough for me to give myself over to you. But it's not her respect growing higher right? Because understand, why do women want you to communicate or to delve deeper into communication than direct? It's because going to a deeper level or an expounding level of communication is indicating your interest and your desire level. That makes her feel wanted. Yes, there are going to be some women who are going to feel insecure. And if they're extremely attracted to you, they may have a fear of alpha widowhood. This is a natural thing that's not only in women, but it's in men as well, right? How is alpha widowhood something that's within men and women? Because understand, at the peaks of feminine submissiveness are typically going to be a mixing of pain and pleasure and a receptiveness to the activation of body parts that typically would be uncomfortable becoming orgasmic, right? So orgasm for penetration, throat stimulation, cervical stimulation, right? Anal stimulation, right? So men receiving orgasms from penetration, like getting pegged, if that takes you too far, you can be overstimulated. And then from that place, you're in a position where you might experience alpha widowhood. This is the real reason why most men have this, are not open to anal stimulation. It's not gay if you're doing something with a woman, right? Nothing that you do with the woman is gay. But when you get overstimulated, this forms an attachment to the submissive sexual ego, right? This is the same reason why many women are averse to the idea of sleeping with a man whose penis is too big. Why? Because if it's too big, it's going to expose her. If it's too big, either it's going to hurt and not be pleasurable, or it may become her new normal. And unless you're a man in her mind, where either she's chasing after you and really wants you, or she's in her whole phase and she's not thinking about the ramifications of her decisions, or it's a situation where she feels like you are invested in her, then she's typically not going to want to take that chance, right? Because it can lead to a woman chasing dragons. Let's keep it a buck. This is the same reason that many men have a fear of women with high body counts. It's not really about the number of guys. It's about the quality of the experiences, right? Because the higher your submissive ego gets stretched and lubricated with feminine energy, and this also goes beyond just sex as well. This goes into how someone deals with you, right? If you allow yourself to transmute a certain level of energy that's pain, that could be painful to your self-perception. That could be painful to the way that you view yourself and view relationships, your concept of self-dignity and self-respect. And you allow a person to push you beyond that point, where you put yourself in scenarios where you enjoy something that you would typically view as disrespectful or painful or uncomfortable, and you learn to enjoy that. That can become your new normal. And if you're dealing with somebody who's unable or unwilling to provide that experience, overstimulation can lead to duplicity. Watch my video on overstimulation can lead to duplicity, right? This is the same reason why most women don't want to date bisexual men, even if those women themselves are bisexual. You got to let me cook on this one. But basically what I'm saying is you got to win the game to change the rules. Right? At the little bit of time that you spend with her when you're fuck buddies, and the level of sex that you're giving her is not enough for her to get emotionally invested. This does not mean that you give her more time and more energy in order to try and get her to be more invested in you. This is how you get your hand caught in the cookie jar, right? Because likewise, there's game on each level. On each level, there's game. So in the masculine submissive exercise and self-control level of game, this is where you give just enough of yourself. You breadcrumb with the excess of energy that you have to give from your submissive ego, and you limit this to how much you can give without forming an attachment to that individual. Then you give that through intermittent reinforcement. You don't truthfully communicate the context of it. of what it would take to give them more. Or how women will do is through the animus, they will communicate their idealism about the integrated cup space, which is really dealing with most men is going to really end up being a man being feminine submissive towards them and then transmuting energy. And what occurs is this: without there being proper principles in place and structure and a program in place where a person actually holds themselves to that structure and that program, when someone's feminine submissive towards a masculine submissive exercise and self-control, most of the time they're not going to move up into masculine dominance. They're going to take the energy that they gain to raise up into either being masculine dominant with someone else or into being feminine submissive with someone else. They're going to monkey branch. Right? Very important to understand. The masculine submissive exercise and self-control is the factory settings. So you have to win the game to change the rules. So that means that if you're dealing with a woman who's doing a masculine submissive exercise and self-control, you don't win that game by giving her more emotional validation, by being more understanding, even if she tries to give you a shit test and walk away. If you get to the point where you fear that woman leaving you, so you invest more, you're going to notice over time that she's going to be even less and less submissive towards you. And understand that the context of this is really hard skills, right? With the masculine submissive exercise and self-control. So a woman she may even learn it from you. She might learn it from someone else, but she might learn it from you. Let's say there's certain things she learns in her upbringing, like how to be somewhat of a people pleaser. So she likes doing things for you. She may help you with your resume. She may do this or do that for you. Don't place more value on it than it should be, right? She may suck your dick, but not give you the throat. To the extent of how far she's been stretched within her feminine submissive energy, if she's able to bring that into a hard skill where she can do it without needing her feminine energy to lubricate her submissiveness, it becomes a hard skill, then she can do it through the masculine submissive exercise and self-control. So this can work with sex. This can work with ways that she's showing up for you non-sexually. This is the truth of the matter. But unless that feminine that masculine submissive exercise and self-control gets to the point where the things that you've communicated indirectly through your own masculine submissive exercise and self-control is something to where she's doing the things that you say that you want, and she's not trying to give you a unconscious ultimatum, not trying to necessarily test you, but she's really asking you, okay, what do I have to do to get more of you? I want more of you. How do I get more of you? And she's already doing the things you've already brought up. Unless that's what's going on, then she's probably just losing interest. She's losing attraction. She's losing respect. She's viewing herself as becoming more self-respecting, viewing herself as becoming stronger, but she's not. You're just losing your grasp over her. You got to win the game to change the rules. Right? Now, once you've done the masculine submissive exercise and self-control and a woman is on your nuts real heavy, now you can move into direct communication. All right? But check this out. Once you're doing the masculine dominant thing and you're operating from dominant empathy consistently, and she's being feminine submissive with you consistently, she has to be in a position where outside of being in a highly aroused state of mind, she has the capacity to think about how you would think about a situation and to show consideration. Make decisions that are based in wanting to respect you outside of just her validational loop. She has to think in a way to choose to subject her validational loop to your opinion, because respect and insecurity have overlap, right? Understand this. Respect and insecurity have overlap. So part of one way of defining respect is simply that you desire a person's validation and approval for the decisions that you make. Simple. This includes the way that you think. So I suggest that unless a woman is able to be in a position where even when she's not in an extremely aroused state of mind, And then also she's able to move past that. You need to have active and passive stretching together. So active stretching is pulling away and her moving forward, right? Due to her behavior without over communicating, and then she comes back your way. And then there's also active stretching, which is where you're actively pushing beyond her social programming and self-perception, and she can accept these things. Unless both of those things are happening on a consistent basis, that's not a woman you can integrate with. Just because you're masculine dominant with a woman who's being feminine submissive with you doesn't mean this is a woman who you can be in an integrated relationship with. And that's a hard lesson to learn, I'm telling you. Because she needs to move forward towards the desire to be integrated with you before you're moving forward towards the desire of being integrated with her. Or through you moving integrated with her, typically what's going to occur is that unless this is a framework that you're moving into on your own, she's probably going to have to, or something in her is going to desire to be feminine submissive with someone else to test the realness of you being integrated masculine with her. And unless you can handle that, the integrated masculine is not for you yet. All right? Not without her moving into the integrated feminine space with you. So if she's in this feminine submissive, she's desiring to be more integrated with you. She's showing that she's able to be receptive to your mentality, to switch out certain aspects of her social programming with your programming. And even when she's not in the highest cup space, she's seeing the world somewhat through the eyes of your philosophy. And she knows how to transmute energy to self-soothe, which is to fill her own cup, or she knows how to play the game in order to get her cup filled. Because understand this, there are the instinctual variants when it comes to the Enneagram, right? Instinctual variants. What does this mean when I say instinctual variants? There's social, there's sexual, and there's self-preservation, right? Very important to understand these concepts. So understand that until a woman is at pretty much an integrated level, or unless the amount of energy that you're giving is just akin to a masculine submissive exercise and self-control, where you're able to get back into polarity relatively quickly, then if a woman's cup gets low and you attempt to fill her cup, right, from your own cup, she will internally and unconsciously view this as compromise, where you are actually leaving your high cup space to put her in a high cup space. Powerful concept to grasp and understand. So she may lose respect for you even though you're showing compassion and empathy towards her. So that means she needs to know how to do one of two or a combination of two different things. So what are the three different instinctual variants? There's social, sexual, self-preservation. If you know about my content, you know that I'm very big on Jungian psychology, right? My project that's on YouTube is called Young Negus, A Tale of Sexual Shadow Work. Check it out. That project is an accumulation of my experiences with the exact same things I'm telling you about right now. And it's the first start of my project. I'm about to do my second show for that project. And it's not on all platforms yet. That's because when I post the songs that are on all platforms, I get copyrights. And I got to figure out how to change that. If you know how to change that, help me out. But in order to move from one cup to the next, you got to be able to stay in the cup space that you're in for a long enough period of time. And this doesn't just go for you. This also goes for her. Right? Which means that if she doesn't have the mental health or the self-soothing and self-care capabilities to put herself into a space, into a frame of mind to where she can get back up to a high cup space, if her mental capacity about how she views that relationship dynamic isn't to view, like if she's still in an internal battle against herself about being feminine submissive towards you, right? And in this internal battle, she's constantly fighting between those moments of high desire where she's feminine submissive, those high cup moments when she's feminine submissive, and then getting into her social programming and disagreeing with everything that you've previously taught her, you're not in a space to be integrated with this woman and to be pouring into her like that. As long as she's there, then the energy you give her has to be conditional based off of your program. You have to win the game to change the rules, right? Because the number one thing that a woman will use to manipulate you will be your own empathy, sympathy, and understanding towards her through her animus, right? So the cup space is going to be a combination of your capacity to maintain a narrative in your mind about yourself, about relationships in general, and about your partner. Yourself, your partner, and your relationship. This is what your cup space is really going to compile of. This is going to be a compiling of these three things. It's going to be a combination of them. So in order to be in a high cup space or an overflowing cup space, that means that you have to have the capacity to gain energy, because the dominant ego is where energy comes in. So that's socially, sexually, self-preservation, right? So socially is going to be casual relationships. It's going to be acquaintances. It's going to be family and friends. It's going to be whatever is attached to your dominant ego. It's going to be those relationships that are not integrated on any level, where they're on one level. So for a woman to fill her cup, that means that she needs to receive an adequate level of social validation, right? If she's doing it through the social and instinctual variant. So that means that it's going to have to be a woman who, based off of the context of what's acceptable within your relationship dynamic, she has to be able to siphon enough energy from the dominant ego on a social level without giving more through her submissive ego on the social level, or getting her hand caught in the cookie jar, which means she has to learn how to be masculine dominant, or to be very skilled at either the masculine submissive exercise of self-control, which is not really what you want her to be doing, or feminine dominance, right? Through the social level, or her hand's going to get caught in the cookie jar. And if her hand gets caught in the cookie jar, while you are operating from both masculine and feminine security, and you're trying to preserve that relationship, you're pouring into her cup, then she's going to transmute energy from you that you're pouring into her to try to build a relationship with another man, to try to get another man to want to be with her. That's how it works, man. I know in this space, there's a lot of talk about attention whore women, or women who go out on dates and don't sleep with guys, or women who just want to talk to guys on the phone and all these other things. Understand, sometimes a woman is doing this simply with good intentions unconsciously, right? And what are these good intentions? These intentions are that through gaining energy on a social level, she can stay in a high enough cup space so that she can pour in enough on the sexual level to her man so that she can be rewarded for her good behavior and get a higher value of validation from a man she's more invested in. I just spit some fire at you. Attention whore game is necessary. That's outsourcing for a woman. Now, depending on what's acceptable in your dynamic, it may simply be having male platonic friends. It may be having co-worker outings. It may be going out to the supermarket and getting hollered at, right? Going out on dates with you and having other guys see her and see her as attractive and desirable. It may be posting pictures on social media and getting a bunch of likes and loves and comments and DMs, right? Now, if she isn't attractive enough or desirable enough to keep her cup full, then her hand's going to get caught in the cookie jar in the cog of social media, or in the cog of social validation, which means, let's say she posts a picture and she's not getting enough people trying to pursue her, right? This is if she's a social media girl. Or let's say she goes out, she doesn't get enough people trying to holler at her who aren't looking at her a certain way that makes her feel attractive and desirable. Let's say that without her putting energy out or presenting herself as the full package or presenting herself as someone who's sexually available, she's unable to get the level of attention that she would need to fill her cup on a social level. I'm spitting fire right now. You got to let a nigga cook. If she's unable to do this on a social level, if other women aren't jealous of your relationship, if her family don't like you, right? Or she doesn't feel unconsciously that her girlfriends want to fuck you or that other women want you, then she may not get the level of social validation she needs. And this is going to cause her to try a little bit harder. And once she exceeds a certain amount of what she's willing to do to try to get validation, and this gets channeled into a particular person she wants attention from, and this person doesn't give it to her the way she wants, she's going to want to try harder. And this is where it turns into a masculine submissive exercise in self-control. And then this can eventually turn into her being feminine submissive with another man. Understand that. Now, everybody's going to be attracted to people. Don't fault a woman for being attracted to another man. That's just part of life. Just like you're going to be attracted to other women, she's going to be attracted and sexually attracted to other men. Right? This is the truth of the matter. But in order to fill her cup, to stay in a high cup space, she has to gain enough validation to do it. But this has to be a context in which it's in line with your program, because your program is the conditions by which you feel safe within that relationship dynamic. Right? Now, I remember Coach Justin said this: codes, principles, and rules. I say this, it's like there's boundaries, rules, and standards. Right? Your boundaries are things that are unacceptable in your presence. Rules are things that are unacceptable for her when she's not in your presence. And standards are about things she does and how she shows up when she's in your presence. Right? Now, to be masculine dominant, you can't be overly concerned with the woman's psychological reactions, because you'll compromise and behave in a way that shows that you're taking a step back from your solid stances in order to make her feel comfortable and safe, so that she'll be receptive to you and reward you for your openness to what she wants to do. Understand that. Very important concept to understand. So whatever, you need to have a certain allotment within your program of what's acceptable, of what she can do in order to gain that attention on the social level, right? That's like a man who says, why buy a Ferrari if you're just going to keep it in the yard? Or, why get a Ferrari if you don't want anybody to see it? Because he understands that she needs that attention, the same way that a man needs a certain level of sexual validation in order to maintain his cup. But this is on the social level, right? But she needs to have a healthy fear and a certain level of respect, not just for your feelings, but for the principle. If she doesn't respect the principle, but only respects your feelings, then once her desire for social validation gets high enough, she'll just hide it from you. If she respects the principle, which is where you're able to start moving into the integrated cup space, right? When she respects the principle, then she'll have a healthy level of fear of not only losing you, but a fear of overstimulation for herself, right? And this is where the fear of alpha widowhood is a good thing, right? Because believe it or not, now a man can kill the safety after giving her this experience, but she still may chase dragons afterwards. So hear what I'm saying on this. If a woman's with you and she not only feels like you're the best that she's had, or you're the best that she has access to, and the combination of the amalgamation of the things that make who you are as a man is excellent to her, and this is what she wants and she's sure about you, she should also have a healthy fear of not only, like, there needs to be 3 reasons that she doesn't want to risk sleeping with another man if your expectation will be monogamous in a long-term relationship. 1, she should feel so satisfied with you and feel like there's a positive correlation between how emotionally close you are and how safe she is, and this is a healthy woman, with how safe she is and how good the sex is. And that through time, you've gotten to know her body more and more and more. So that the chances of sleeping with most men doesn't feel worth it, because chances are they're not going to satisfy her and she risks you for no reason. 2, it's about the safety of the relationship dynamic, meaning that if she feels she can tell you the truth about what she truly thinks, feels, desires, and prefers, and that you feel good about what she has to say, therefore she can tell you anything and you're going to be good. If she's enjoying the safety and the freedom of being able to tell you anything, then a wise woman is not going to want to risk being in a position where you're not going to like to hear what she wants to say. Therefore, it's going to be a position where she's now going to feel as if she has to hide things, and she's going to feel less safe with you, or make you feel less safe with her, or possibly leave her. And then 3, and this goes in line with the second one, the possibility of overstimulation. If you're the best that a woman's ever had, or you're near the best, and just the amalgamation of who you are as a man is it for her, then if she goes out and encounters something that changes and shifts her sexual palette or shifts her palette of attraction, then she's not going to appreciate what it is that you have to offer the same way she used to, which is going to hurt how much she's satisfied in that relationship dynamic. And if what she ultimately wants is for that relationship to be healthy and to move forward with you and to have a healthy long-term relationship, then the risk is not worth it. Right? So when it doesn't feel worth it, because she could be disappointed. When it doesn't feel worth it, because she could possibly lose you or embarrass you, to not be a good representation of who you are as a man. And then it also doesn't feel worth it, because even if it is better, this may shift her preferences. What's a woman's at that point in her own mind? This can't be something you impose on her, because then she'll fight against it, and then this will make her want it more. And you can do that purposefully if you're looking to get rid of a woman, right? If you're looking to get rid of her, then you can play into it. Just tell her the truth about how things can go, and then use anti-game, the way of the honey badger. Watch my video on dissecting apology letter from a monkey branch and X, which is part of what the story of Young Negus is about. The story that led into the creation of my channel and things that happened throughout my channel. When you play that game, typically she's going to burn out. She might go get digmatized. That she might burn out and either go to church or come back around to you. Right? That's typically how it's going to work. Either she going to go celibate for a while, or she going to go hit the streets like cracking 80s. Typically, either way, when she's experienced how great it is as an amalgamation of who you are as a man, she's probably going to come back around. She may or may not, but chances are she will. Then you have your own choice about what to do after that. But this is an important concept to really grasp and understand when it comes to these things. Right? Very important to grasp and understand. But that's her getting energy on a social level. This is outsourcing game. But when the outsourcing game turns into the mana principle and your needs are not fully met and you've let your standard go down, it's going to kill the safety. Right? That's something real to understand. Right? So there's outsourcing, cake eating, mana principle. Watch my video on ethical non-monogamy versus equitable non-monogamy. For you as a man, outsourcing is going to be more so sexual validation and control and influence. So if you're in a mutually monogamous relationship, this may just be having women who are willing to follow instructions. So being a boss at your job and having a certain level of control over your life, this can play the role of that, where you feel confident because of that, and this fills your cup. If you're not in a strictly monogamous relationship, this goes in regards to sex, right? And there's different levels of monogamy. So you can simply just get feet pictures. I'm a foot nigga, so I like feet pictures, right? Like, bitch, oil up the soles, wrinkle them shits up for me. Ain't nothing to start my day better. It's like a cup of joe and a pick of toes, right? That's what I like, right? So nudes, shit like that can work for you, where women are showing a receptiveness to do those things. If you're not in a strictly monogamous relationship, then having other submissives, having other women that you're sleeping with, just don't socially embarrass your woman with how you're dealing with other women. Don't prioritize them non-sexually, right? As in, you keep your woman as a priority. And she can also derive some level of validation from this, knowing that there's other women who want to sleep with you, but they don't have access to you emotionally. Don't let any woman lie to you and gaslight you into thinking that's true, because most women, that's how they are, especially when they're feminine and submissive towards you. And sometimes, even if it's a masculine submissive exercise and self-control, that's gaining energy for your cup on a social level. I'm not somebody who's going to sit here and pretend that your cup is going to be 100% self-sustaining at all times, right? And part of you have to win the game to change the rules is understanding that unless that woman is sure about you, sold out to you, she's signed her name on the dotted line of Death Row Records, and she's all in with you, you have to keep other women that you're sleeping with to keep your cup full. Because if you prioritize a woman who isn't able to fully meet your needs by herself, this is going to compromise your game, because it's going to influence your anima, right? Understand that. So when I'm talking about winning the game to change the rules, never cut off your other women just because a woman asks you to, when she's not willing to put in the effort first to show that she can meet your needs on her own. One of the worst mistakes I ever made. I did that one time, and a woman fell out of love with me in like 2 months, who I was with for like 9 years at the time. Terrible decision. But you can't be afraid of what she's going to do if you don't. Right? You're like, well, if I keep dealing with other women, she might start dealing with other men. She might start dealing with other men when you when you stop dealing with other women. Keep that in mind. So that's the social level of filling your cup, understanding the cycle of energy. In order to have a fully monogamous relationship, your cycle of energy has to be on point, positive feedback loops in tow, right? Then there's the self-preservation level. So this is going to be your spirituality, and this is going to be your self-soothing and self-care. So let's say a woman's cup gets low. She may need to go and read a book, or get some sleep, or have a spa day, right? Go get her nails done. Go get her hair done. Go do things that make her feel better about herself. She may need to go to church. She need to spend some time in prayer, meditation, yoga. Do whatever she needs to do in order to fill her cup, so that she could be in a higher cup space, so that she could show up to the sexual level better, right? It may be just taking some time to herself, man, getting some rest, having some days of not being up under you. Real shit. Some women, they need some time to themselves to refill their cup, so that she has the energy that pours out, because the feminine submissive pours out a lot of energy. And energy is like, it can't be created nor destroyed, but it is something that's in movement. And for most people, this is not a unlimited resource. There's energy that pours out, energy that goes in. So there's going to be energy that's poured out on a social level. Too much submissive energy is poured out on a social level. This is like if you're a thirsty dude who's simping after a bunch of women, or you don't take your woman out, but you're paying for prostitutes, right? Or you don't take your woman out, but you're sending women money to get their nails and hair done, but you're not doing that for your main girl. You tripping, right? You buy another bitch's lunch just for existing. That makes you look bad. It makes her look bad. So Understand that. If you got other women, check this out. I had conversations with men before where they was talking about why the girls was mad. Sometimes your girl will be more mad and feel more embarrassed if you're not moving P with your shit when you cheat on her. Real, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I don't advocate for cheating, but this is just what I'm telling you. I was having a conversation with a guy one time, and his girl saw the messages of him talking to another girl, and he was sitting in the car with her talking to her, and he was trying to fuck, but she wouldn't let him fuck, and he was simping for her, and this made his girl feel embarrassed. She was like, it would have been better if you just hit it, right? Real shit. Because if you was able to hit it without investing in her, then this would be you showing that you can be masculine dominant on a social level. Therefore, that puts more into your cup, and then it makes you more valuable in the woman's eyes about who you are and how you move, right? And the more you practice something, the more it becomes habit, and the more you move that way. It keeps your dominant empathy sharp. Another thing to understand about a woman being masculine dominant on a social level is this could also be her being a boss. Independent women are oftentimes some of the most submissive women because they get to focus their submissive energy into their man. Real shit. So if she's running a little business, right? She's handling her business. If, let's say, she talks about God, and because she presents a social image of not being a whore, people respect her enough not to try to come at her a certain way. See, this is where the animus is important. This is where it's important to integrate the animus, right? It's not just about saying you don't have an animus. The animus is there to protect a woman. It's just when this animus isn't properly aligned, then the woman will repress her shadow, not bring her sexual shadow to you, then repress it overall. Where however she views herself is going to be how she likes to view herself, to not have an outlet for her feminine submissive energy with you. And then it's just a matter of time before her hand gets caught in the cookie jar and she's feminine submissive with another man. Right? When a woman's in that father complex, this structured, anal, retentive way of viewing herself becomes how she views herself. It's not completely true. It's the straw man principle. Watch my video, The Straw Man Principle. When a woman's in this state of mind, oftentimes it's a situation where it's impossible for her to be honest with herself. Therefore, it's impossible for her to be honest with you. Right? And when a woman's in that state of mind, she's either on sexually or off sexually. And this is why it's important for a woman to be feminine submissive with you first. For a woman to be in her sexual shadow with you first. For you to explore the depths and the dungeons of her sexual nature, of her female sexual nature, before you're emotionally invested. That way you can assess if the things that she wants to do are something that can fall in line with the standards you have about the type of safety that you need in your own program. Right? Because let's say you prematurely integrate with a woman based off of this father complex, she's going to want to view herself in a respectable way. Right? Therefore, she's going to attach you in her mind to this animus. And through attaching you in her mind to this animus, she's not going to want to fully express herself with you. And this is why oftentimes you have to win the game to change the rules, because unless she's in the feminine submissive with you before you integrate, then in order for her to move into being feminine submissive with you, you're going to have to pretty much move into the integrated masculine, and you're probably not going to be able to beat out the novelty, the non-reactiveness, the non-responsiveness, the intermittent reinforcement, the breadcrumbing, the love bombing, the value and validation of a new man who doesn't give a fuck about her, who's just cool. Because you've already shown your hands of being emotionally invested in her. Therefore, she may not have the same fear of you leaving as she may have a fear of, if I don't do this for this man, he may not respond to me or keep talking to me. This is the truth about nature, right? You have to win the game to change the rules. So a woman can also use masculine dominance on the social level. This is what I'm saying. This means that if she's genuinely funny, right? If she's genuinely interesting, then she can have actual platonic male friends. Now, she needs to be honest with herself about what men are going to be too attractive for her to play this game with. Because the higher up her sexual energy goes without integrating that shadow, the more sexually duplicitous men she's going to come across who are going to be able to play that game with her. And the more your emotional investment is going to go against you. It's going to hurt you. And her animus is going to perceive the boundaries that you want to enforce on her from a stance of feeling as if you're narcissistic and controlling, even if what you're telling her is correct. It's not going to matter. You being worried about another man is going to create a taboo, a forbidden fruit, which is going to exacerbate the desire and make her want him more. But even if you're not worried about it, you're still going to have to let things play out on their own. So that means that if you're not truly in the integrated space of compersion, of being happy for her as long as she's happy, then what's going to occur, she's probably still going to play with plausible deniability, can still get her hand caught in the cookie jar. And this is just the truth of the matter. And if this is a man who really likes to play the game, who really likes to go on the hunt, then what's going to occur is this: the boundaries that you set on her that are not her real boundaries, right, that you enforce on her, are going to cause her to deal with the man in a way where he's going to see that she's simply holding herself back, not because she truly wants to, and it's going to bleed through in her communication. So he's still going to keep playing the game with her, and he's probably just going to wait her out until she does enough to piss you off, and then he's going to slide right in. Or until she does enough to piss you off enough to kill the safety, then he's going to slide in through a false sense of safety, use her up and throw her away typically. Or just keep her as one of his side bitches. This is real life. I've been on both sides of it. So a woman has to learn how to be masculine dominant on the social level. It's not enough to do the masculine submissive exercise and self-control, unless it's only cool she does the masculine submissive exercise and self-control on the social level if she's fully feminine submissive with you and you're benefiting from it. I'm not talking about pimping, but I'm saying that she needs to, on her own, say, you know what, I appreciate you being a man who's a dominant man, who loves me, who values me, and is allowing me to have the freedom to explore my sexuality elsewhere. That means she needs to be, if she needs to play the game well enough to actually get money off these niggas, so that she's blessing you with that, to take the validation that she's gaining to pour into you. Any new sexual shit that she's doing or that she feels like she could be open to do it, this needs to transmute to you, but that's going to transmute through safety. If she feels like she might be interested in girls, she needs to bring other girls in for threesomes, right? She needs to have this boundary. Either she's going to fuck the guy or she's going to boost his head up. She can't do both, right? And this is something many women would naturally do if she values you. So she's fucking a guy. This is if you're not in a strictly monogamous type of relationship. That's not what you want. Then she might have her a good time. But I remember I was talking to this one couple one time that was swingers, right? Mid 40s or late 40s, right? And they're married, they're happy, they're swingers. The woman has these two boundaries in place naturally on her own, right? As in, she doesn't allow a man to do something dominant to her, which means no face fucking, no choking, none of that extra dominant type of shit, and none of that real intimate shit like kissing and making love. It's just strictly dickly, right? Maybe get some head. But these natural boundaries are her protecting herself from the emotional intimacy it turns her off, right, with another man. But also the dom sub dynamics are something that are exclusively for her man. This is an integrated woman. You don't have to be monogamous to be integrated, right? I'm just giving you some real shit. This is some real game. If she has those boundaries in place, then it's like that. So it's like if she's boosting a man's head up or she's really attracted to a guy, she can tell him, but she don't need to be giving that guy no head, no pussy, no nothing, right? If she wants to fuck with a guy, she could fuck with him, but she shouldn't be boosting his head up to strengthen his dominant empathy to where he feels as if he has a sense of power and control over her. You got to pick one or the other. And women naturally do this where they're doing a masculine submissive exercise and self-control, even in casual sex, without having a main man, right? So a woman may fuck with you, but not tell you she's having an orgasm, right? If you ever experienced that, let me know. I done dealt with women before. I almost cut them off of that shit before. Or a woman may tell you a bunch of shit, give you sexual validation, but be very sexually inconsistent with you and not pull up. And just fuck with you on her own time. If a woman's fucking with another man, she need to do it on her own time. Right? Which means that if you hit her up to link up with her, there should never be a time where you hit her up, regardless of what she has planned. She should be willing to cancel on another man. If you're having a conversation with a woman about an open situation, she said, I'm not going to cancel on somebody else to link up with you. Cut that bitch off. Right? If she says, I'd be open to a threesome, but not with you because I care about you too much. Cut that bitch off. Just right on the spot. You know what? This ain't working. I don't like the way you think. Right? Because this is the sign of a woman with a father complex with this split animus. And this split animus is going to lead to her being in a position where she assigns her sexual shadow to men who are not invested in her and who she's not invested in, which means she has this gentleman gigolo complex and is placing you on the role of the gentleman. You have to win the game to change the rules. If you're dominant, you're starting as the gigolo. You're not starting as the gentleman. Right? Which means that you have to see the full shadow and depths of her sexual nature before you get emotionally invested. And this is where premature integration can fuck you up. You have to win the game to change the rules. Understand that. And this also bleeds into her perception of how she views herself and how you communicate with her. So that means you got a degradation kink. If she has a rape kink or a degradation kink, this needs to be attached to you, right? Because a woman can have a rape kink. Check this out. I'm going to say some real shit. A woman can have a rape kink, have a masculine submissive exercise and self-control type of mentality, masculine submissive exercise and self-control, get her hand caught in a cookie jar, and constantly try to gain energy on a social level through plausible deniability, get triggered into a spot of arousal by feeling rejected by a man not trying to sleep with her, to give him a little bit of energy trying to get him to make a move, and then put herself in a situation where a man may take the pussy from her. And if she has a rape kink on the low, she may have genuinely been taken advantage of, but she'll enjoy that experience, right? Typically. And then from that point, she may find herself in a position where she will succumb to pressure, succumb to some form of coercion, feel at odds with herself because she knew she put herself in that position, and then keep going back, building a Stockholm syndrome with another man. Fear talking to you about it, then keep going back, and then later on it be some Me Too shit, right? Because really she likes the idea of a man taking the pussy. It's just sometimes people don't integrate their shadows well enough to integrate the concept of fantasy with reality in a safe space. So they put themselves in scenarios where the fantasy can take place and then not really incorporate, not think about the animus, not think about the structure or the boundaries that should be in place with the things that they do. And if this is your main girl and stuff like that kind of takes place, I'm not advocating for sexual assault or anything like that, but I've had conversations like that with women before. Like, that's how I got into CNC. Like, I didn't have women before to tell me, like, I like it more. Now, we would have these conversations written out in text message form, conversations that we'd have verbally. It's like, I like when you just take it. Like, you know, I get turned. I've had one of my first videos. I think my first video on YouTube was how many women perpetuate rape culture. And I've had women who pretty much would get turned off if I try to communicate with them directly about my intentions, but that's because I started indirectly. So it felt like it wasn't organic. Sometimes a woman wants you to just take the pussy, right? I've had women tell me, I like when you just slide it in when I'm asleep, right? Don't wake me up, just wake me up with the dick, right? Or a woman saying, you know, I get more turned on if I'm just cooking in the kitchen and you walk up behind me and you just lift up my skirt and you just put it in. No foreplay, no nothing. Just get aggressive with it. But you also have to recognize when a woman's value of your validation is going down, her attraction, her arousal is going down, and she's no longer receptive to those things. That means that something's bad's going on in your relationship. Because when your dominant empathy is active, you can kind of tell when a woman's receptive to it versus when she's not. The less receptive she is to it, the lower the value of your validation is getting, which means you're starting to lose the game. Right? And a woman's oftentimes not going to tell you, okay, I'm aroused enough for you to just take it today. No, she's just going to have some days where she is, and she wants you to just know. The other days where she's not, and she wants you to just know. It's a sick game, and it's plausible deniability is a double-edged blade. Right? So let me get back into this self-preservation more. For you, with your self-preservation, it's going to be working on yourself. Right? It's going to be validating yourself. It's going to be looking in the mirror, feeling sexy about yourself. It's going to be the content that you consume, what mindset you're in, what music you're listening to. It's going to be what content creators you listen to. It's going to be being in alignment with your spiritual values when it comes to how you deal with women. The self-preservation is going to include your self-respect of not overextending yourself, right? And with the skills in order, in the self-preservation level and the social level, this allows for you to be able to have a good cycle of energy on the sexual level. Right? Because understand, if her social or self-preservation is on point, or if her self-preservation isn't on point, then she'll have to gain that attention on the social level. And if you're afraid of her gaining that attention on the social level, she's going to expect that energy from you on the sexual level, which is the intimate partnership, you and your primary partner. And if the level of attention she needs on the sexual level is to the point where it takes you out of the cup space that you were already in, then this is going to lead to a covert contract for you where you're going to expect a reciprocation that's going to make things feel conditional. It's going to make things feel transactional. And eventually sex is going to start to feel like pressure for her. She's going to get reacted. Very important concept to grasp and understand. So what you can do in these instances is this. This is why BDSM is so powerful. When a woman's feminine and submissive with you, this means a certain level of direct communication is going to be good. Incorporate things, study that woman to learn what she needs to fill her cup, and incorporate the things she needs to fill her cup into your program, right? And when you incorporate things she needs to fill her cup within your program, make those protocols. Make those protocols. Did you go to the gym today? Nah, you ain't getting no dick, right? You know, if you include rewards for her submissiveness, not only because you want to get to the point where you can reward her with dick as well. Dick ain't free, right? Like, listen to my song Adi Dottie. It's on my YouTube. Let her know that dick ain't free. It costs a fee to get in fold, right? When you're in a point where a woman has to do things for you non-sexually in order to be rewarded sexually, this is where you start to win the game, right? And as long as her desire for your validation is high enough and her desire for you sexually is to a point where not only does she see sleeping with you as something that gives her an escape from her social programming and from the pressures that she feels in her everyday life, but it also creates an environment where she has submissive empathy, right? She's attracted to you being in a position of power and control. She's attracted to being in a position in which she has to listen to what you say in order to get what she wants. And she accepts that and she likes that because she also is attracted enough to you to enjoy the things that she's doing to gain that attention and validation. So she may have to write a book report, right? You know what I mean? She might have to read a book. She's not reading a book. She's not getting the same time, attention, to dick, right? Like I said, if reading something that fills her cup, cool. She needs to learn to study you, right? You got videos on YouTube like I do. She would have to watch my videos, share her thoughts on it, send me a voice clip, right? She needs to make sure that she's getting adequate rest. What time did you wake up in the morning? What time did you go to sleep? See, this is where you go into the area of 24/7 dom sub dynamics, right? You say, okay, cool. Are you hitting the gym? What did you eat today? Right? If you know her diet is not conducive, you got to understand this. A woman's desire for the dopamine that you give her, which is the value of validation, it has to be higher than anything she gets from anything else. You have to be her drug. So if you're dealing with a woman who has like binge eating disorder, and this is more powerful, the least you can do is say, you know what, check this out. When you're not around me, I need you to eat healthy. But when you're with me, this is where we about to pig out. I'm about to cook this for you, about to make this for you. It's better to have a more integrated diet. You can let it be integrated throughout the week, right? And then when she comes to see you, then you can say we can pig out a little bit, have us a good time. And when she associates doing things that make her feel good with being in your presence, then you become that safe space. You become that escape, right? And when you become that safe space, you become that escape for that woman, then you are daddy to her, right? You're daddy to these bitches. From there, that's where she gains the skills and the tools to self-preserve if she doesn't already have them, right? She needs to learn how to validate herself if she doesn't already know how to self-soothe, right? You may say, have you been going to your therapist? And if you're on top of your therapy shit, if you're on top of your understanding of psychology, you might be telling her shit that her therapist is already telling you. If she respects you enough, then she's going to be like, damn, you telling me the same shit my therapist telling me already. So then she's going to listen to you more and more, right? But if the woman's desire for validation is that she doesn't truly respect you on a certain level, then she's going to take the opinion of her family, that's the animus, her family, her friends, social media, therapy culture, other men. She's going to take that opinion over yours. That's a daddy versus father effect. This is where it's triggering her father complex, and she may not see you as solid as her father complex, the things that she leans on. But you have to win the game to change the rules. Once these things are so heavily ingrained into her that she's able to self-preserve, she knows how to play the game to get the validation that she wants on the social level in a way that is in line with the confines of your relationship dynamic in order to stay in a high cup space. And then she decides, you know, I want this for the rest of my life. I want this man. And she's willing to put in the work to get it. That's where you can move into the integrated space and show more of that. But you have to win the game to change the rules. You know, if you change the rules because she's not receptive to you, then you're allowing her to win the game, and then she's going to monkey branch on you. She's going to fuck you over. Right? Understand that. Because oftentimes a woman wants a certain level of contradiction within herself. And if what you're presenting to her is something that's healthy, then she's going to see you as the diet, and it's going to be that gentleman gigolo complex. She's going to see you as like the diet food, what's healthy for her. And she's going to want to do the right thing, but she's not going to want to do the right thing. She's going to see another man as the escape from her responsibilities, from her priorities. And she's going to see you as the responsibility, and her love for you is going to turn from feminine love, feminine submissiveness, into maternal love, which is masculine energy. So she may still like to do things for you. She still may be there for you, right? But this is where having a certain level of sovereignty in your own life and taking care of yourself is so important, right? And you do want a woman who can be there for you from time to time when you got shit going on. I get that too. But don't overdo it. Don't overwork love, right? And watch my video on don't overwork love as well. Important shit to understand. But you got to understand that you got to win the game to change the rules. So if you approach a woman and you're not direct about your sexual intentions from the beginning, then you got to understand how to play that game. Right? If you get frustrated and then move up, the woman low-key gets the vibe that you might take the pussy from her. Right? But if you drop down a level from how you're approaching her, rather than pulling away, then she may view it as you don't truly have boundaries or self-respect, and what you say is not really what you say, so she loses respect for you. So whatever game you play, you have to know how you're approaching and be able to follow through on whatever level that is. And this is pretty much like a redo of what it means to be consistent in the game by Coach Brody. Check it out. And check out all the videos that I referenced in here. These are some good videos and some good game and some good content. But this video right here is you have to win the game to change the rules. It's Coach Brody. I'm out.